Hi, everyone, and welcome to this special session. I thought we would do something different this time, and I wanted to interview a good friend and mentee of mine, Ahmad Munir. He has a really special story to share, and I thought that this would really benefit a lot of people. So we're just going to do sort of a Q&A with Ahmad Munir. Ahmad, can you tell all of us a little bit about yourself? You know, what school you went to, what's your background, how did you get interested in radiology?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Awan. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I can't wait to dive into this Q&A session. But, like everyone said, my name's Ahmad Munir. I'm actually born and raised in a small town in Western New York, kind of around the Buffalo region. I went to a DO school in Long Island called NYIT, College of Osteopathic Medicine. And honestly, I've had quite a unique journey. My interest in radiology actually kind of started in middle school. And as the years progressed, kind of just got more and more intrigued, interested. My best friend's dad, Dr. Sheikh, growing up, he was actually a radiologist. So that's kind of where peak of it all started.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. That's really early because for me, I knew nothing about radiology. You know what I mean? Even up to my fourth year of medical school, like it wasn't even like an option for me. And then I kind of just coincidentally, stumbled upon radiology, taking it as an elective, thinking that, oh, this was going to be like a really cush month. And then I like literally just fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, maybe I should apply for radiology. So that's really cool that you, kind of experienced it really early on. But, the crux of this story really is, and why this is so relevant is you applied to IR last year and you obviously didn't match last year for last year's cycle. This year you applied to diagnostic radiology, and of course you did match. Did you feel like it was a mistake for you to apply to IR last year?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a tough question because the way I kind of look at things is, you never really want to see anything as a failure. It's either, a win or you learn from it. So, obviously it was disappointing. I didn't match last year, but, it was one of those, major learning lessons, a huge turning, a huge turning stone in my life. So, I wouldn't go back and change anything because, all of these moments kind of make you who you are now. But it is what it is. It happened. And, because of that, I learned from my, shortcomings and became a better person because of it.
Awesome. No, it sounds like you're an optimist, and it's great to see your perspective on kind of what happened last year. But what were your initial thoughts when you didn't match? Like think about not this year where you obviously you matched and you were on cloud nine, but think back to the previous year when you didn't match. How did that make you feel? Like did you feel like you failed? Did you think about kind of giving up and pursuing something else outside of radiology? What was kind of going through your mind at that time?
Oh man. Yeah, no, I still remember this vividly. I was on back then it was like peak of COVID. So all my friends, we were kind of on FaceTime. It was a group of I think 20 of us. We're just counting down the seconds to, seeing that email come up on your phone. And I still remember it was just complete shock, like an out of body experience. For like a few minutes, I was just frozen and like couldn't believe that was me. You just hear about these stories, you read about it on Reddit, you never actually think, this will happen to me. So it was such a, shock and out of body experience. And, at that moment, you don't even know, you can't even process it. And then once it hits, you do feel like a failure and all the self-doubt creeps up. But the crazy part is, soap starts in 3 hours after that. So you kind of got to just pick it up and get it together. But, as far as applying to other fields or anything, I actually elected not to go the soap route. As soon as it happened, it's just, I just really wanted radiology. It was kind of set in my mind. I let everyone know after about an hour that, I got to give it another shot. I felt like, this time I didn't give it my all. If I shoot for it again and kind of give it everything I have, even if I don't get it, I can live with that. So it was kind of one of those moments where I'm just like, I have to go all in and just give it one more try and live with the results after that.
No, I think that's important. I think that the persistence is really key in your success. You weren't satisfied, even though you didn't achieve your goal the first time, you didn't let it hinder you from pursuing the goal, in the future for the next year. So I think that's pretty awesome. But how did you rebound from last year's match? So like, what were some of the key things you did differently, this cycle versus last cycle?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things, first and foremost, I feel like, you kind of got to give yourself an honest introspection. You need to look at your app and you need to be completely honest with yourself. No shortcutting anything. Just be honest with yourself and see, what am I lacking? And, in my case, I felt like there's two major parts I was lacking. And it was, I didn't network as much or really have, proper mentors. And the second thing was, I felt like my grades were kind of, subpar average for, competing for a specialty like radiology. So, you know, as soon as that happened, I realized, I can't change my grades and I can't change my past. But, there's certain things in your application, that you can make unique. So at the time, I was actually pursuing an MBA. I was doing a lot of research up at Dent Neurologic Institute. So, those were two unique points I had. So I was like, okay, maybe I can counter my grades that way and kind of have these, unique perspectives. I can bring value to a residency program. And then the other thing, the second huge side of the equation is, you need to have someone, a mentor who believes in you, who'll give you proper guidance, who will, give it to you straight. And, you can't just have someone just tell you like, hey, like, this kind of sucks on your app. You need someone to give you some constructive criticism, like kind of outline a plan for you. And then, the rest is up to you to go get it. But, so I was on Med Twitter, Dr. Awan, I reached out to you and, I really just started networking and shooting my shot with everyone, just telling them my story. And you will be overwhelmed with, how much people are willing to help you in the medical community. And I think, people are kind of just, me too. I was kind of just scared to reach out to people and tell them my story, but then, the support is absolutely overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I think you made a lot of key points there. First of all, you kept yourself really busy. Like you found creative ways to do other things. You did research, you did an MBA, you added value to your application by doing something kind of outside the picture, outside the box. Not many people do an MBA who are going into radiology. And the other thing is, mentors. I think mentorship is so key. And you mentioned that, it's really reassuring that so many people are, overwhelmingly positive and willing to help. And I think that's something that I think people need to hear, because some people don't reach out to mentors. Some people are a little shy and they don't go that extra mile, but that's so critical, and so crucial for success. This mentorship idea is key for people to succeed, especially when they've gone unmatched 1 year. So absolutely. What were some of the things that mentors told you to do? Like how did they support you in your application kind of moving forward?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, like the biggest thing I was talking about is that honest introspection. If you have like, you don't want a mentor just tell you, hey, you got this, or like, this part of your app sucks. You want someone to really give you some constructive criticism, tell you how to improve your application, parts where you can improve on. Dr. Juan, for instance, I remember, when you were looking at my app, you were telling me like, let's get in some, try to get on some articles in radiology. Your MBA is really cool, point that out more. Really, bring that to value. And, other things is, the other side of the equation is interviewing. I remember, you do mock interviews with your mentors, with friends, and if they give you honest feedback. And I think that's the biggest thing you need to look for in a mentor is someone who, constantly encourages you, gives you constructive criticism, and, actually gives you solid feedback to improve yourself. You don't just want someone to always just give you, a pat on the back. You want someone to help you move forward.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's honesty and candor is really key, especially the mentor-mentee relationship, being totally honest, because that's the only way someone is going to improve, right? Like, if you're
Exactly.
just patting someone on the back all the time, you're not moving from point A to point B. So absolutely agree. And, what were some of the battles you faced in this process? Because it's obviously you had an uphill battle. You went unmatched, you were very successful, in the second time around. What were some of the things that you had to overcome in the process? Was there any negative advice or energy from people? Were there people telling you negative things or things that, in retrospect weren't probably good? How do you deal with all that adversity?
Yeah, so I feel like, the biggest thing, especially when you go unmatched, is the self-doubt that creeps up. You honestly start doubting everything you've ever accomplished. The imposter syndrome kicks in, and, that's kind of where you really need a solid support system, in my opinion, whether that's family, friends, mentors. It just needs to be someone to just pick you up, because it's never going to be a straight line. It's going to be, some days you're going to be really up, some days you're going to be really down, but as long as you're moving forward, that's all that matters. So I still remember, Dr. Juan, I give you a phone call one time. I got off the phone with someone and they basically told me, your dreams of becoming a doctor are over. As soon as you go unmatched, that's it. And I was like, I remember I called you, I was like, wow, like, is this it? Is my career over before it started? But
So it's funny that you bring that up, because I want to ask you a question. Do you remember what I told you? Because I remember exactly what I told you. You remember what I told you when you told me that?
Oh, 100%. You said, first of all, you have a solid plan. stick to the plan and believe in yourself. Like once a plan is in set, and you know that it's a solid plan, you're taking advice from people who have been there, done that. They've seen, thousands of applicants. They've heard and seen so many stories. As long as you stick to the plan and you keep seeing the big picture in sight, you can't let little things bring you down. Like you said, as long as you keep moving forward, you're gonna hit that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one can don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't, become a
Yeah.
doctor and be successful. You never, so I don't care
Mhm.
what people are telling you, you can, where there's a will, there's a way. And I really,
Yeah.
I think you prove that, you know what I mean? So I think that's awesome. If in retrospect, reflecting on, what's happened in the last 2 years in your life, what's the single best thing you did? Like if you could name one thing that you did, what's the single best thing you did that allowed for your success this year?
Oh my God, that's finding a mentor. It's and I keep reiterating this point, but I can't emphasize it enough. Is you know like I don't think people realize, like, a mentor has been there, done that. They have seen so many people in your shoes. They know, exactly what it takes to be successful. And you'd be, it's just dumb to not take someone's advice, who's been there. That saying, like, a wise man doesn't make his own mistakes. A wise man learns from someone else's mistakes. So it's like, if a mentor is literally giving you, all this advice, you just have to, trust the process, take that advice and keep pushing forward. But so I would say networking and mentorship. Those two things I feel like go such a long way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And in your case, obviously, failure was a part of your success story, right? You
Mhm.
use the failure of year one to really motivate yourself and drive sort of your success in year two. So, what would you
Yeah.
tell people that went unmatched, like the people that this year went unmatched? They were in your shoes last year or 2 years ago. What piece of advice would you give them, kind of going forward?
Yeah. So the first thing is don't lose hope, and also just be honest with yourself and realize it's not going to be a straight line. Like I said, there's going to be days you're up, days you're down, but and, as long as you're moving forward, that's what matters. And it's like that famous Kobe Bryant quote. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And if you
Yeah,
just kind of keep remembering that you have a solid plan. If you're in medicine, you're a smart, hardworking person, and you can't let that self-doubt creep in. So as long as you're motivated, you're hardworking, and you're honest with yourself, I feel like that goes such a long way. But like I said, you got to look at your application and you have to be honest with yourself. Certain things you can't fix. Like I said, grades, it happened. You can't go back in time and fix
yeah,
that. Find other avenues to make yourself valuable to, a residency program, to your colleagues, to yourself. And then on top of that, the other side of the equation is, networking and mentorship. Med Twitter is an amazing place. You can email people, you can DM people. There's free resources everywhere. You just kind of gotta get out of your comfort zone and just start networking and talking to people.
awesome. Yeah, no, solid advice, man. No, I mean, yeah, that's great. I completely agree with you. Um, it's interesting because you went in, you applied for interventional radiology, and you went into diagnostic radiology. You really stuck with radiology in general. I mean, I know it was, IR to DR, but you really stuck with radiology. Did you ever think, to pursue something else, like maybe less competitive, just like internal medicine, family medicine traditionally are a little bit easier to get into than radiology? Did that thought ever come to you, or like, why did you really stick with radiology?
You know, so that thought didn't creep in, honestly, at all, up until, if this year, God forbid, I didn't match, then then I would have to, think about those options. But as far as these past 2 years, when it's, I love radiology. It was a field I was absolutely passionate about. I had to give it my all, and I felt like I put everything I had into it this year. And if I didn't match into radiology, that's something I could live with. It wasn't in the cards for me, but I gave it my all, and I can go out with my you know head held high. So it was I never had any unwavering doubt that I have to pursue a different specialty. But the passion kind of drove me, and I thankfully I got it.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. That's great, man. And then, you kind of hit on this before, but your support system. I think your support system is really key. Like, what was your biggest support system, and how do you leverage that support to, allow for your success this year?
So I think family, friends, mentorship, all three of those are such key components. And like I said, throughout the process, the self-doubt is going to kick in. It's one of those things, you can't run away from. We're all human beings. You're going to start feeling sad, down, like a failure, self-doubt. All that stuff kicks in, but that's where, a strong support system comes into play, because you can't let those thoughts overcome all the amazing things you've done throughout your career. Getting into residency, that alone is like, an 8-year process. You went through 4 years undergrad, 4 years med school, and you're just going to let all that go to waste because 1 year of not going match. So you need people to keep reminding you that let's look at the bigger picture. You have a plan in play. Let's just keep shooting for it. Let's get past these down days and just keep trudging forward.
Yeah, and I think that's a really key point that you made. You're talking about physicians who are really remarkable people, and we don't hear this enough. It's hard just to get into med school. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the cream of the crop undergrad kids get into med school, and everyone is really highly accomplished people. And then when people go unmatched, it's sad because these people are really high functioning, super smart people. You know what I mean? So I think that it's natural for us to get down, but again, there's nothing that can't be overcome. So I think that perspective is really important for sort of people to hear. What were some of the key resources that you use? Obviously, med students, are always looking at resources that help them. You guys are really good at honing in on things that are helpful to you. What were the key resources for you that helped you match this year?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I have to give credit to my family and friends. A bunch of my friends, one of the biggest reasons I actually, decided to pursue the research I did and pursue an MBA was because my friends did the same exact thing. So I kind of like saw through them how valuable of those experiences are. And I wanted to pursue those as well. So kind of having that inside scoop on that definitely helped me. So and then the second thing was, like I said, med Twitter and just talking to other residents, faculty, staff. Just like I said, there's so many people on social media that you can utilize it to your full advantage. And on top of that, going to medical conferences. I feel like medical conferences are a great way to network with people. On top of social media, you kind of couple those two things together. You can expand your social network so much, and opportunities will always present themselves.
Yeah, no, I think that's an important point too. Like, just the networking that occurs in conferences. Like, I know you went to RSNA this year, which is, for those who don't know, it's the biggest medical conference, not just radiology, but the biggest medical conference in the world. You see tons of PDs there, tons of residents. I know firsthand because I met you there. You interacted with a lot of, radiology residents, a lot of PDs. So I'm sure that, kind of augmented your application in some way, shape, or form. So I think that's a really key point for people to understand. It's interesting because you went through the virtual environment in year one and year two. So, how do you think the virtual environment helped or hindered your ability, or did it, or was it just kind of neutral? Do you think the virtual environment played a role in helping you or hindering your ability to match?
So, I think that's a great question. And the way I look at it is that last year was the first year it was kind of a virtual interview. So, my class actually never really got to experience in-person interviews. So, we kind of don't have anything to really base it off of. So to me, the second time around was definitely easier. You're so used to the virtual environment at this point. But, the first time around, that is your baseline. You don't even know what in-person interviews are like for residency.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. If you could provide a blueprint, Ahmed, to unmatched applicants, and there's many of them this year. There's a ton of people that went unmatched this year. What would be the main ingredients that you would suggest for their success? Just in general, if you had to give them a few things to do, what would that be?
Yeah, so going right back to the list, I feel like first and foremost, you got to be honest with yourself. And I mean, you truly need to be honest. Sit down with yourself and look at your application and think, what am I lacking in? Where do you think things actually went wrong? You can't, obviously something went wrong somewhere along the line, and you got to kind of pinpoint it, be honest with yourself. So once you figure those things out, then let's figure out ways that we can overcome those things. And like I said, you can find other ways to make yourself more valuable. And I feel like just quickly recapping back on the MBA, I don't think a lot of people realize getting a master's while you're a medical student, they give crazy scholarships. Once you're already a medical student, you don't have to take the GMAT, you don't have to take the GRE, you already took the MCAT, you're wavered out of that, and they give some incredible scholarships. So these are great opportunities that I feel like, a lot of people probably never knew about or really kind of pursued. So, you're getting these great scholarships on top of that. Maybe you're lacking in research. There's, like I said, you can network and socialize, and on social media, there's so many research opportunities as long as you just reach out. So I feel like, your application is one side of the equation. And the second side of the equation comes in, practicing your interviewing skills and knowing how to answer these questions and networking. Networking and mentorship. Find a mentor who truly believes in you. Get out of your comfort zone. Shoot your shot with everyone. Everyone is willing to help, I promise. Out of every maybe like 50 people you reach out to, maybe one person will say something negative. But you have 49 other people that are giving you such solid advice. And you put it all together, and I promise you'll come up with a great plan that, and as long as you get a great mentor and you stick to that plan and you have a strong support system, nothing's gonna come in your way.
Yeah, I think that's worth mentioning. That it really only just takes one person, right? It takes one
Yeah.
person to really believe in you, or that one person that really is going to guide you and kind of push you over that hump, right? Over that hill for you to succeed, right? It just takes that one person, right? So I think that's a
Mhm.
really important thing to consider. Well, Ahmed, well, thank you so much, man. This has been really enlightening. I think your story is really inspiring. I hope it really resonates and affects a lot of people, kind of watching this, and hopefully it'll help them, succeed in the next year's match. Is there anything you want to say as parting words before we sort of say goodbye?
Yeah, and the biggest thing I want to tell people is, don't let that self-doubt creep in. You know, I've seen it, you've seen me, Dr. Awan, firsthand on my low days. And it gets really low, but you can't ever let it give in. You get that strong support system, and I promise, you'll get over that hump and reach the other side.
Awesome. Well, with that, I can't top that advice. So thank you so much, Ahmed. Thank you, everyone, and best of luck with the match next year to all the great applicants that will be uh, pursuing this.